I've got the Grand Seiko SBGE295 and I've had this for 8 months. It was a watch that was gifted to me, and when it comes to my own watches, personally I like to wear them for about 6 to 8 months, a year, and then I can actually share what my findings are of this watch. Now, after wearing this watch for about 8 months, I've actually found 8 things that I love about this watch, and I'm going to share that with you guys. But there's 3 things I don't like about this watch. There's one that I absolutely hate. So without further ado, let's check out this Grand Seiko SBGE295. Now, the watch on Grand Seiko's website is listed as a spring drive GMT with a triple time zone. So it's pretty functional, especially as a traveler's GMT, somewhere where you're going to go overseas, different time zones. It's a very functional tool, but it's also beautiful. And for me, I'm going to dive in straight into the pluses and negatives. The pluses on this watch, there's 8 of them. The first one is that dial. It is spectacular. The dial texture, the color, it doesn't detract from the time reading experience. And that green emerald color, it's designed to capture the brilliance of Hotaka's short summers. So it basically changes the mood in different lighting scenarios, and I've got to tell you guys, it is phenomenal. It is that good. It does not detract from what I see as a time reading experience. Sometimes it's green, sometimes it's almost black. So nice to have this in the hand. I don't think my photography or videography is going to do this justice. It's one of those pieces you have to take outdoors. You have to look at it in the sun. You have to go underwater with this watch. It's a really nice piece. So that dial, number 1, brilliant. Next big positive that I found of this watch is the build quality. It's probably the best built watch I've had in my collection, or I've had in my hands, period. Grand Seiko seemed to make a really solid watch, and it's refined. It's really, like, you can see the way the bezel moves, the way the crown winds, all latches down. It's a really refined, well-built watch, but it's built like a rock. Has an air of elegance and refinement, and yet it's strong. So I love what they've done there. The third like of this watch for me is the accuracy. It features a caliber 9R66 spring drive. So specs wise, it says that it should be about plus or minus 15 seconds a month. In the real world, I'm gaining a second a week. So about 4 seconds a month. Gee, that's phenomenal. You don't adjust it. You put it on, wear it. At the end of the month, if the date is wrong, adjust the date, and you don't even have to hack it. Being a GMT, that hour hand, as soon as you pull it out to the first position, the hour hand moves back and forward, the spring drive's still moving, and you basically change the date. As a specific tool that's meant to make life a little bit easier, this is making life very easy for me. So it's a really good travel watch and overall companion. My fourth like of this watch, the lume. The lume on Seiko watches are very good. The lume on this Grand Seiko is, again, very, very good. It's bright, it's legible, long lasting, and if I have to speak into that lume, it would have been nice for the handset, the hour and the minute, to be a little bit broader, just to have that little bit more lume, as well as differentiate that handset from the GMT hand. But as it stands, the lume is good, legibility is good. I really don't have any complaints here. My fifth like of this watch is the finishing. It's meticulous, for a better word. The transition between high polished and that brush section is razor sharp. It's so nicely done. It is a bit of a scratch magnet. Not that it's a scratch magnet from any other watch, but because it's mirror finished, you really see everything. If you do, happen to get a fine micro scratch on it, you'll see it straight away, because it's near perfect. That's the best way to describe this. So the finishing on this, whether it's on external or internal, it's really well done. So in that department, I've got to give it a 10 out of 10. My sixth like of this watch is that date window. It's legible. I can see it. I can read double digits, I can read single digits. It's been an easy read. Now it's tucked away at the 4 o'clock mark. It looks like a marker. It's out of the way. It's not in your face at 3. It's not predominantly in the center of the dial at 6, because what I found from experience in my other watches, the 6 o'clock day position, even though it's balanced, they're harder to read. It's a narrower window, whereas anything at 3 or 4, they're usually done better. My seventh like of this watch, and I know many people don't like this, I love it, the power reserve indicator. And I know Grand Seiko put the power reserve on the back on some of their newer watches. I actually like it on the front. And looking at the power reserve indicator, not only is it visually stimulating with its white, grey and black sections, it gives you a gauge on the watch's health, how the watch is running. So when I pick this watch up in the morning, I put it on the wrist and I look at it and it's about 75%. Literally 30, 40 minutes later, an hour later, as I'm walking around doing my activities, it's at 100 again. So on a Friday, if I'd put this watch down and wore something else on the weekend, by Monday, it's still active, it's still accurate. I just feel that it just shows you a general gauge throughout the day. I love it. So just sharing my thoughts on that. And my last like on this watch is that readout. It's got a secondary 24-hour scale. It's invisible. In other words, you don't even know it's there because it's not in your face. You know, a lot of models feature the secondary 24-hour scale on the dial. It's a little bit busy. I think what they've done by putting it on the readout is genius because it's color matched, it's green and it's white, and it just blends in beautifully. So that's my 8 likes that I've experienced throughout the 8 months of wearing this watch. I have 3 dislikes and I have one hate, as I mentioned. And look, my first dislike for this watch is that case height. I measure it about 14.7 and there's no way around it. It is a tall watch, but giving Grand Seiko credit, it does seem to wear like about a 13mm case height. If anyone can make a big watch look small or wear small on the wrist, it's Seiko or Grand Seiko. So I think by the extreme edges, the way that they taper down, they've done well. But yeah, it would have been nice if this was, you know, honestly, I would have easily sacrificed 100 meters of water resistance, give it 100 meters instead of 2, so I can have a slightly thinner watch. It just would have been more practical, I think, in real world scenarios. I don't need 200 meters as a sports watch. As a diver, yes. As a sports watch, well, no. So my second dislike on this watch is that 21mm lug width. Now, it's not a deal breaker. There are 21mm straps available, very good ones. Artem straps, Delugs, I've sourced many. But if you're heavily invested in 20mm and 22mm in your collection, and then you got an odd one like a 19, which I have in my collection, as well as 21, you're up for more money. You're basically spending more money to get more straps. It would have been great to double up on that. So ideally, I reckon Grand Seiko could have got away with a 22mm here, slightly thinner lugs. It just would have made the whole experience a little bit sweeter, that you're not sourcing more straps again and again. Now, my third dislike on this watch, there is no toolless micro adjustability on that clasp. It features 4 holes where you can actually set the bracelet, but as the wrist expands and contracts, you can't change that unless you've got a tool. Now, I know that back in the day, they used to wear watches a little bit loose, and I'm happy to do that. I actually wear some of my watches loose if they're light, because back in the day, the watches were lighter. But when something comes in at about 175 grams on the wrist, like this one does, you really want it firm. You don't want it jiggling up and down the wrist. It's heavy. So, you know, I don't mind the weight because I think the actual bracelet and the watch head balance each other, but I don't want it loose. I don't want it too tight. So that's one area where I think, gee, Grand Seiko, you can really do better. Now, finally getting onto my hate, what do I hate about this watch? And there's one thing that I do hate, and that's that GMT hand. It's functional, but I think it's just wrong. It's just having it in white, it really blends in with that handset. I cannot tell you how many times I've confused that GMT hand with the hour or the minute hand. And the ironic part of this, it's an easy fix. If they had just color matched that GMT hand, let's say a dark green, and just leave that arrowhead in white, it would have easily resolved this problem. So again, Grand Seiko, if you're listening, some of your watches do have color-coded GMT hands. I don't know why you didn't do it in this. So can I send this back? Can I send this back and you guys can maybe change that over? It's a point of conversation. But nonetheless, all that said, is this watch a keeper? Is it staying in my collection? And the bottom line is yes, it's a gift. It was gifted to me. Every time I wear this watch, it gives me a place in my heart, and I remember the experience I had when I first received this watch. It's a reminder of the expression of love that was given towards me. And I've got to be honest, guys, this has become my travel and summer watch. So whenever I'm in an aeroplane, whenever I travel on holidays, this comes with me. I might take 2 watches. This is definitely one of them. Because simply put, this watch does it all. Whether it's day, whether it's evening, whether it's water activities, it's an accurate, reliable traveler and a companion. You really can't go wrong. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. It's a big watch. It's been a pretty hefty experience on the wrist. So if I've got an 18 centimeter or 7-inch wrist. Now, the wrist width for me is what, 50, 60 mil. So this comes in at 50.8 or 50.9 lug width, so it will wear relatively big on a smaller wrist. It might overhang. So if you're interested in buying a watch like this, I've tried to share what my experience have been throughout the 8 months. I love it. It is the best watch in my collection as far as build quality, finesse, engineer. It's pretty much perfect. It's engineered perfect. That's how I feel about Grand Seiko. It's accurate, it's beautiful, but it's also big and a little bit cumbersome in some areas. So when wearing it on any other strap apart from the bracelet, it can wear a little bit top heavy. So hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think of Grand Seiko as a brand. I've had 2 of them. This is my second one. I love it. There is no perfect watch. I still haven't found one, but there are watches that bond with us, that are relatable, that make the experience fun, as well as us ever learning in this hobby. And for me, this Grand Seiko is a lesson about life, friends, the hobby, and above all that, it's about love and the gift of giving. Thanks for watching, guys.